All right, today we're talking with Navy veteran Jarrod H. Smith, founder of Liberty Accelerator Program, a solution for military families to the military transition. Tapsley, Jarrod, we've had you on the show once before, talking about commission officer's guide and transition in general. You've been adding and still going with what most of us like to refer as the military transition, but you're going to have a little bit different twist to that. So, but before we get to talking about it, remind us what you did in the Navy.
Sure thing, Joe. Will do. So, the Navy kept me busy for the last 19 years as a U.S. Navy Supply Corps officer. And I've got the good fortune of serving in the submarine force, did a stint with Naval Aviation on aircraft carrier out of Norfolk, and then a quick stint with the Naval Expeditionary Forces, as well as with the Army in Afghanistan. So they kept me away from my wife and 4 kids for a lot of that time.
Mm-hmm.
And we are winding it down now. I've got 11 months left on active duty. And I recognized as I was entering what I refer to now as my military transition battle window that we had planning for that eventuality, that being all of us getting out of service one day. We had the planning all backwards. So I try to solve that problem.
So talk a little bit about, I mean, you're still in the process of your transition, if you allow me to use that word.
It is. Yeah.
So you're 11 months out before you're done at 20. What's some of the initial, what are some of the things you've run across, some of the obstacles you've encountered in the process of looking at your transition out of the military?
Yeah, thanks, Joe. I mean, that is the question to answer, right? And I believe the most important obstacle that a lot of us aren't aware of is the time factor. We've got this mindset in the military service that transition begins a couple of years out, or when told that you're no longer eligible to serve or you haven't promoted, right, and you're getting kicked out. It's simply not enough time. It simply is not enough time. My own personal experience, and I'm fortunate, I'm one of the fortunate few, but I recognized about a decade ago that I would leave one day, but there was no structure for me to really lay in on, to really intentionally and informatively plan for that eventuality, right? So whenever I finally attended the DoD TAP about a year ago, actually, I was like, wow, a lot of this stuff I should have known about 10 years ago or longer. And nothing kept me from requesting to go attend the DoD TAC course, right? Like I could have taken leave and taken it, under the curtain, or I could have requested to go TDY for 3 days to go take it, but I didn't. And a lot of the information that they give in there, we need yesterday, no matter our time in service, right? But we don't think that way. We're all thinking about being fully mission capable for deploying downrange. Our families are ready for us to deploy downrange to go do God's work, and I think that's a subpar approach.
Yeah, thinking back about me personally, I actually, from being, even when I was still going through initial schools and stuff, I was always kind of thinking outside the Marine Corps when I was in, if nothing else, just out of my own curiosity. But there was no structured plan in place, really. I was just kind of on my own, toying with different things, mostly in the entrepreneurship realm, not necessarily what's my job, what kind of job am I going to get when I get out. But you kind of have to weigh, like sometimes in the military, you're almost made to feel guilty about preparing yourself for what you're going to do when you get out. And really, in the military is one of those few things where you go into it, you're leaving at some point. I mean, whether it's after 4-year enlistment or a 30-year retirement, you're leaving. So transition is always discussed, especially if you're in a leadership role. You got to be really careful, tactful about how you go about talking about getting out, or even preparing about getting out. Usually some of the big things like, oh, I'm going to get that degree I never had, or I'm going to get that higher level degree that I've always wanted to get. Those kind of things are usually fairly well accepted but running a business or doing other things or going to other customized, specialized type transition classes usually isn't very well accepted.
Right.
So
And it's ironic too.
yeah, yeah, and the military puts a lot of money into these TAP transition assistance classes that are out there and have been there for for decades now. They're getting better, but they're still kind of a one size fits all. And they do have some customized approaches and things like that here and there, and some optional tracks you can do. But what is the main reason for the military putting so much money into the transition process? Why are they willing to do that?
I can only think, and I'm not speaking on behalf of DOD or DOD TAP or any government program office that runs this stuff, but I would think it's because of the scrutiny, maybe that the organization is getting from the military families and service members that are returning to society and having a real hard struggle at it.
Yeah, the DOD just didn't want to dump everybody out back into society. And
well,
so I've heard two different things.
I don't know, Joe.
Well, I've heard one thing, and I have another theory. I've heard,
what are they?
One thing is, especially those that get out, I'm not sure what the severance pay or the unemployment requirements are. It differs by state, but the military pays a massive amount of unemployment when they send people home, right? That didn't have the option to stay in. So they're trying to reduce that unemployment load. I mean, it's probably tens or hundreds of millions of dollars a year. I'm just speculating here, but maybe. So there is definitely an unemployment insurance cost associated with that.
Okay.
But I also think that a successfully transitioned veteran is the most powerful recruiting tool for new people coming in. Look at him. Absolutely. He went in for 4 years, got out, got a great job, going to school, whatever. Life's great. That could be you in 4 years. So it's a phenomenal recruiting tool if the transition out is successful. So, and then there's definitely the holistic concept of, the military and the DOD doesn't want to develop a bad reputation for just dumping people back out into society. So that successful transition is important. I mean, we all have a vested interest in making sure that something successful happens with those folks getting out that want to do the things they want to do. So, absolutely. But having said all that, or knowing all that, it's still pretty amazing how there's this great divide between these people that want to successfully transition and these companies that want to hire them, or these schools that want to get them into school. There's still a big, great divide out there that just seems to not really go away, no matter how much effort's put into it.
And this is where the solution I put together comes into play, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if we changed our paradigm and viewpoint just a little bit? What if we said, instead of being fully mission capable for the service members' deployment and the family's life going on while that service member is deployed, what if we said, hey, why don't we ensure the military family is fully mission capable to return to society on a moment's notice? Would that not also meet the requirement of being ready, willing, and able to deploy downrange to face the enemy?
It's an interesting concept, and really it's something that anybody in the military should be thinking about at the very least.
Exactly.
At any given time, you don't know whether it's something beyond your control, a fluke injury, even a combat injury, car wreck, motorcycle wreck.
Service member not coming home from deployment. Right.
That too, yeah, for the families, absolutely. So, but there's not an active preparation campaign going on within the military like TAMPS, TAPS to prepare people continuously. It's all focused
No,
on at the end when you know
right.
you're going to be getting out.
Reactionary.
Mhm.
That's why the private marketplace needs to bring a solution to the military families. And that's what I'm doing with the Liberty Accelerator Program.
So what does that look like?
So basically, we put it on a 5-year planning horizon that begins at the completion of the training pipelines or now. And we address what I call the war fronts, right? Or the lines of effort, as we would say in the operational planning world, where we're focused on health and the smart use of medicine to ensure peak whole health of that service member, right? Throughout the entirety of service, not just at the end. So if we're doing that, we're putting healthier, more capable, um, more clearly thinking service members to work day in and day out, right? And they're doing what they need to do at work while also doing what they need to do at home. Not only that, they are mindfully managing their medical record so that they are ready for that inevitable VA disability compensation exam, right? Because it's going to
Mhm.
happen for all of us. And therefore, you might as well have your medical record ready for that to happen. So that's the health category,
Mhm.
right? Then we go into this idea of self, because the basic training pipelines, enlisted and officers strip us down to nothing, build us back up into teams, right? And then we perpetuate this mindset of, hey, take care of your people, take care of your people, take care of your people, while assuming that our leadership is taking care of us, right? And they probably are with respect to promotion eligibility, getting awards, like all these other things that we celebrate in the
Mhm.
military culture. But are we really being taken care of with respect to being ready to return to society? I argue no. And I'll look back around to something you said earlier about it kind of being looked down upon for preparing to get out of service,
Oh yeah.
unless you're getting a degree or some sort of other credential that may help you in service to the nation. I would argue that personal development is critical to bringing all that we have to offer into the service, because heaven knows the military branches need it, right? Um, so that's the self pillar. It's finding this sense of who I am and what I'm going to do with my life beyond the uniform. And a lot of people joke about, especially us old timers, what am I going to do when I grow up? I don't think it's a joke anymore. I don't think it's
Mhm.
a laughing matter. Right? I think it's deadly serious, and I think 22 service members and veterans per day are telling us it's deadly serious.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm going to leave the self pillar now and pivot to the final pillar. I refer to this as 3 pillars, right? Health, self, and wealth. And on the wealth pillar, I'll start out the discussion with time. And we've got this mentality of hurry up and wait in the government and in the military service. That's a deadly dangerous perspective to have as well, because the time is precious. Time is the most valuable asset we've got day after day. And there's no getting those minutes back that are wasted. So we need to be mindful of our time on the job and at home and in preparation for the inevitable departure from active duty. That military family that's going back into society with or without their hero. Okay, now to take it one step further down the wealth ladder, I refer to this idea of imagination, knowledge, and experience, and that connects directly back to that self pillar of who I am, right? Because nobody can take Jarrod's imagination, knowledge, and experience that I have for my life. That's mine. Nobody else has the experiences that I've got. Nobody else has my imagination. Nobody else has the knowledge that I've aggregated.
Mhm.
Right. So it's up to me to package that up and market that successfully to a market or an industry that has a problem where my services can benefit them. You see, so if we can get our mind right around this idea of wealth, stop with the scarcity mindset of not wanting to spend money for goods or services, right, for value, whereas we continue to perpetuate this idea of handouts and freebies and discounts and all this stuff that's holding us back. If we
Mhm.
let that go, right, get financially literate, have some money aptitude, understand what the heck's going on in our economy right now, understand assets and liabilities, cash and cash flow, right, make better decisions throughout service time with respect to buying houses and cars and life insurance, understanding the survivor benefit plan, that's an asset to us on active duty, but then becomes a liability to most retirees afterwards. So like if we understand this stuff, all three of these things, the wealth side, the health side, the self side, and then if we're creating the relationships we need throughout service time and not worrying about networking at the end of service life, how much better position is the military family going to be in when they do leave active duty service? All right, so I'll pause there because that's a whole lot to unpack. I'll give you a chance to ask some questions on any of that.
All right, back talking with Navy veteran Jarrod H. Smith about Liberty Accelerator and Tapsley. So, Jarrod, you talked about the three pillars, which were health, self. That's a tongue twister. Health, self, and wealth. Also, a whole bunch of other things. So, if you're talking to somebody in the military, like right now, you also talked about military mindset. They need to get over this whole I'm not going to invest any money in myself or in my health or wealth. I want, let's face it, when we're in the military, even as we're getting out and even after we've gotten out, we're kind of used to handouts. I mean, everybody wants to help us by giving us things. But one of the biggest problems with that is I've seen it many times. If you don't have any skin in the game, you don't take it serious. Like if someone's giving it to you for free, you don't really take it that serious. I mean, some people do great with that, but
when we pay attention.
Exactly. If you're going to pay attention, you're going to have to pay.
That's right.
In the civilian world, in the military, we're familiar, or at least accept the concept that we might have to put our life on the line, but we do not accept the fact that we might have to put some money on the line. And in the civilian sector, they can't comprehend the concept of putting their life on the line, but they have to put their money on the line all the time because they don't have these programs and these DoD structured classes and everything to help them along the way. So totally difference in mindset. Now you talk about the three pillars and a whole bunch of other things. How do you reach, or how do you get somebody that's got several years left in the military? How do you shake them and say, look, you need to start paying attention here. The preparation process should start now with not only just you, but you and your family.
Yeah, Joe, that's great. And I'm so glad you brought that up. Remember earlier I talked about taking care of our people?
Right.
Have you ever also heard the phrase, don't be the senior leader with a secret?
But you almost had, I can think of a few episodes ago, we talked about this. I had it set up. I was like the training officer in the S3 or squadron. I had it all set up where this FAA guy was going to come by. He was going to go down to our maintenance shop in the afternoons between day crew and night crew. Anybody that wanted to work on getting gouged up to get their A&P license, airframes and power plants license, which is the civilian equivalent of being an aircraft mechanic. Okay. And they weren't going to have to go to class. He was going to come into our squadron building and do it all. And it was going to be not to interfere with flight operations, of course. But the OPSO at the time was like, wait a minute, you mean to tell me you're going to let somebody come in here and they're going to train some of our enlisted guys down in the garage so that they can get a better job when they get out? Yes, sir. That's exactly what we're planning on doing. No, we're not doing that.
Makes sense to me.
Because he's thinking they need to be focused on what they're doing here, not this focus of what they're going to do when they get out.
But
you get a lot of mental not just the individuals need to come around to that mental change, but the military leadership is going to have to come around to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But if we were being held to the same standards as the civilian workforce, would our organization not be a lot better than it is?
Oh, absolutely. You're preaching to the choir here. I get it. But cool. I'm just saying, built in throughout the military is this concept of you better not be thinking about what you're doing when you get out, right?
Yeah, it's a toxic culture.
Yeah, it's a very toxic culture when you talk about anything to do with getting out. Oh, we heard you might be getting out, so your fitness report isn't going to be as good because we know this guy wants to stay in. That kind of thing.
but we're all getting out one day.
No doubt. Even if you end up retiring after 35 years, you're still getting out.
You're still getting out. Plan on it. You got to plan for it. And that's why a whole lot of military families are having so much trouble beyond the uniform, whether it's at 5 years or 35 plus, because they haven't been planning for it. They're not planning for it. We're not ready.
Well, what are some of the things military families can do now to start preparing for the inevitable?
I think the easiest decision anybody can make at any rank that's got more that's at the 5 year mark or further along is to drop SGLI and go to the open marketplace and get a non-group policy from a stock company or from a mutual company that will last them beyond their service time. That's the first thing. And I'm gonna drop anchor on the so-called wealth pillar for just a minute, because so much of this stuff, many of these problems revolve around challenges with family finance, right? So understanding that the active duty military family is covered by the survivor benefit plan while on active duty at no monetary cost. That's an important part of their family finance picture that nobody knows about. Very, very few people know about it. In my experience, I wasn't fully aware of it until about 2 years ago. And that was after I filled the role of a casualty assistance calls officer about 7 years ago, as well as been a so-called transition assistance program manager at the local level for officers that were separating and retiring out of service. So there's some really basic stuff that the K through 12 and higher academics and these government programs are not equipping us with the right information in order to make informed decisions. Because we're not being equipped through those information sources, we've got to equip ourselves, right? We got to get smart. We've got to find the time day after day at these burdensome staff and operational assignments to get smart. We need some guides that have been there before in order to point us in the right direction based on our own family, our own individual families' wants and desires and what their plans are for the future, right? It's going to be a big difference in a young lady that has no desire of getting married or having kids versus the middle-aged guy like myself that's got a wife and 4 kids depending on him, right? So where we're headed is important, and the systems in place that are babying us through military service are treating us all the same, a lot just like they did whenever we went through the basic training pipelines, right? It's not about the individual, it's about the collective, and that's what you're going to get with the government programs.
You know, if you really think about it, a lot of these programs, they're set up to promote combat readiness. Right. You don't need to worry about your medical bills. You're going on base, or you get TRICARE Prime, you're good to go. Don't worry about it. You don't need to worry about life insurance. We got you covered, SGLI. Don't worry about having to try to find a house or buying a house, wherever you're on base anyways. You know, if you've lived that life, a lot of these life decisions have been taken care of for you. You haven't really had to do it. Now, granted, there's a lot of us that you live out in town or whatever, regardless of where you're stationed, but there are a lot of those things that we take for granted they're already taken care of for us. And it's all to promote combat readiness. It's done quite well. But you need to realize, as you start looking to get out, there's going to be a dramatic increase in decision making and things you're going to have to sift through to take care of your financial. Really, it's mostly all financial related, you know.
On the surface, it appears to be that way. I don't think it's the case. I think there's a big health and medical aspect to this that many families are finding out about way too late, which spills into a financial concern as well, especially if it pertains to the disability ratings that a lot of service members warrant but don't get, because they don't understand the system. They don't understand why they are why they should seek it, right? And then this idea about self and knowing who we are beyond the rank, weapons platform, or service branch, right? Because if you're hanging on to all that stuff post service and you're looking in that rearview mirror, you know, and all the stuff on the love me wall, it's not helping you go out into society and solve problems and add value, right? To know why you're getting out of bed every morning. So no, I think that there's some big self and health aspects of this that are not being highlighted soon enough. And it's all focused on wealth and getting a job and, you know, sustaining that standard of living that you grew to enjoy in military service. I have a vision that every military family leaves service and goes out into society and does great things. They're just not trying to sustain where they were at. Right? It's not just about cash and money. Right? There's much more to life than that. So yeah, I'm taking a little bit different approach to it.
All right. So you got a book coming out. Talk about your book.
Yeah, the book is out. Yes.
Awesome.
So took me about 15 months to write about a 200-page book that I called the Avoiding Each and Every Military Veteran's Disadvantage. And the subtitle is How to Overcome the Lies the Military Family Believes to Get Our Freedom Back. And I consider it kind of the red pill for military service members and their spouses. And it provides what I perceive are the 10 lies that we believe during uniformed service, and then it provides the truths in order for them to overcome those lies and the call to action to ensure that their military family is fully mission capable for life in service, and more importantly, in preparation for far beyond, with or without the family hero.
Awesome. We'll be sure to put a link to your book in the show notes for this episode. But
thank you.
Can you go over some of the? I mean, you've already discussed some of them, I suppose. But
I have.
what are some of the other lies or truths that we might not have talked about already?
Yeah, so we hit the time lie already. We did not cover a replaceable commodity, right? Because we kind of are seen by the system as a number, replaceable, right? Training replacement, operations going on without you. So we get this mindset in our head that that we're replaceable, and keeping that about ourselves beyond the uniform is a dangerous proposition. Chapters 4, 5, and 6 are the health, self, wealth topics. We talk about the love me wall a little bit, and I don't want to give it all away, but those are some of the lies. And then, I close out the book by call to action and mission planning preparations workups, and how provide the structure of how a military family can go about beginning to prepare for that inevitable last day on active duty, prepare to fight through what I call their transition battle, and then intentionally and informatively plan, prepare, and work up for the biggest mission of their life. And we just, that the solution that is available after reading the book equips that military family with the structure and the guide that they need in order to get the right resources at the right time for their specific family's objectives, mission, and goals beyond the little M mission of that staff or operational assignment, but put one eye on the big M mission, right, of that inevitable departure from the ranks. So that's kind of how it all fits together. And real quick before I forget, so the TAPSLI brand that came about over the last couple of months, but TAPSLI stands for Transition Acceleration Project Solutions, and the -LY is for Love Your. And I point back to that S in TAPS for spouse, right? Because this is a team effort, and especially for the married couples out there with the service member on active duty, this is a team sport, so to speak. And TAPSLI encourages the spouse and or the service member to bring their spouse to the program, get them to read the book, get equipped with the information they need right now in order to kind of right their ship and remember that we all get out one day.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love the 10 lies told to military families. You see that a lot with a lot of things, but I like how you balance it with there's also 10 truths.
Oh, there are. Yeah. There's, I mean, basically it's just the opposite of what you're being told is the truth, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to. It's pretty simple. I'm a simple-minded guy.
All right. Well, again, we'll put a link to your book in the show notes for the podcast if you want to check it out. All right. So I do want to give you the last word. First of all, how do we find you?
I kind of grabbed hold of a hashtag heck yeah, YEAH, so HECKYEAH out there in the
Uh-huh.
socials. So
Hashtag
Google
heck
that.
yeah.
You can probably find me. That results from an aviator on the submarine force Pacific Fleet staff gave me the call sign hell yeah on a long duty weekend where we had to stand up a watch and do some work. They wanted to modify it, make it a little friendlier for the family environment. So we went with heck yeah.
Right.
And yeah, so Jarrod H. Smith, if you're searching for me, I always use the middle initial H. And I should pop up. My main platform right now is LinkedIn because, there's around 100,000 profiles out there that identify as transitioning military officer, transitioning Navy officer, transitioning Army officer. And it goes to show me that one, they don't know who the hell they are yet or what they want to do when they get out of service. And three, that they're probably not ready on the health front or the wealth front either.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's kind of where my center of gravity is right now to try to help military families getting out of service. And then the expectation is those that do come into my circle, they'll spread the word, right? Not be the senior leader with the secret because this is important stuff. And if we're going to come take care of our people, let's take care of our people.
Right? Okay. Awesome.
And yeah, so I'm on a bunch of other socials as well, Facebook, Twitter, all that business. But yeah, typically LinkedIn is best. I've got a Patreon community that's forming as well. So
awesome. All right, Jarrod, thanks for sharing your story, and look forward to your future success with helping in veterans transition, especially the families too.
Get military family ready. That's the goal, Joe.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yep. These two veterans are Oscar Mike.